It's time for Twig. Do I look like a sriracha bottle to you? This week in Google, we've been talking with Matt Cutts, spam fighter at Google, and talk about the latest news from the cloud. Stay tuned. This week in Google is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit. Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 183, recorded January 30th, 2013. Rimshot. This Week in Google is brought to you by Stamps.com. Use Stamps.com to buy and print real U.S. postage the instant you need it right from your desk. For our special offer, go to Stamps.com, click the microphone, and enter Twig. And by LegalZoom.com. LegalZoom's not a law firm. LegalZoom provides self-help services at your direction, such as affordable business and personal documents you can trust. Visit LegalZoom.com and use the offer code TWIG to receive $10 off at checkout. And by Carbonite Online Backup. Automatic, continual, unlimited backup for your computer files. Only $59 a year. Try it free at Carbonite.com. Use the offer code TWIG and get 2 bonus months with purchase. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, the show where we talk about Google, Facebook, Twitter, the cloud, the 49ers, anything like that, anything in that sphere of influence. Joining us right now, of course, as always, Gina Trapani from smarterware.org.
One of those things is not like the other.
Very good. You caught that.
Great to be here.
Good to have
as
you.
As always.
She's Googling Super Bowl.
Who's playing?
Is that one word or two?
No, I know it's Super Bowl. I just didn't know who was playing. I needed to know what cities. So now that I know it's San Francisco.
Yeah,
versus
that's why
Baltimore.
I care. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be so excited. I would watch it on TV, but I wouldn't be so excited. Also with us, Mr. Jeff Jarvis. Are you a Jets or a Giants fan, Jeffrey?
My son is a Jets fan, ergo I'm a Jets fan. It's a sad fate.
Next year, when the Niners go to the Super Bowl again, it will be in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Yes,
which
right here.
I'm thinking that ain't the Meadowlands. That must be the Jets Stadium.
That's the Meadowlands, same thing.
That is the Meadowlands.
Same stadium. Yeah, it's one stadium.
I knew the Meadowlands was in East Rutherford. I mean, it was in New Jersey. I didn't know it was East Rutherford.
Yes.
They should just say Meadowlands.
It's not the New York Giants. It's the friggin' New Jersey Giants and the New Jersey Jets.
The New Jersey, the place where Jimmy Hoffa sleeps is what I call it.
Yes.
Jeff is the author of Public Parts, wonderful book about living in public, what would Google do, and blogs at buzzmachine.com, but is also best known as the man who went to Davos. He's back.
I'm back.
We'll talk
I'm
about
back, and I have a sexy voice because I have a cold.
A little scratchy.
With some highfalutin germs.
Very highfalutin germs. I'm figuring it was a Nobel Prize winner.
Or Chancellor Merkel. You could have the Chancellor Merkel cough.
This guy, I won't say who it was, but he leaned toward me so I could hear him at the Sean Parker party, and the spritz occurred.
Oh, you knew when it occurred.
At that moment, I said, doomed.
Was
Come
it
on,
like
who was it?
Was it the scene in Big Bang Theory where you could see the green kind of like cloud envelope you? Did you pull a Sheldon? Just like,
There's nothing I could do. It was too late. It was there. It was it.
Who was
we have
it?
to sing
Come
Soft
on.
Kitty.
Not saying.
You're not supposed to talk about it. It seems to me, because I think, I see now I can't say a name, but it was on Path, which is supposed to be private. And the person who said it said Path only, and then talked about the party. And wasn't this supposed to be the Davos of austerity, and nobody was supposed to have parties, and yet Sean Parker has a multi-million-dollar blowout party?
With a flying in famous DJ from London who I'm suddenly forgetting, and John Legend.
Yeah.
And taxidermy galore, like a 13-foot bear. And
that's creepy.
Mooses with laser eyes.
Oh, yeah. I saw the picture of the laser eye moose.
And I got one on my Google Plus feed of me with laser eye, and amazing wines, incredible wines, and noshes from Jean-Georges Vongerichten, the amazing New York chef. That was quite. And here's the kicker. Here's the whole thing. It was called a party for philanthropy.
Yeah.
Oh,
you got to spend money to give money, or something.
Yeah, Davos was trying to tamp down the parties.
Yeah,
this
didn't
year.
they say that? Did you even say this, that there weren't going to be any big parties?
Well, Yahoo, Marissa took over Google's spot. Google's party was canceled. The Excel wine party, which was amazing every year, was canceled. And some other things. But then, Sean Parker outdid himself with his co-hosts, Mark Benioff and Ian Osborne from London.
He can afford it. He's worth over $2 billion, I saw. So he's doing all right. Hey, let's welcome, joining us now, Matt Cutts of Google.
Back from the real world.
Spam fighter. You know, Matt, I just want to say that when Kevin Mitnick, the famed hacker, who was served time in jail for hacking and then was on probation and not allowed to use the internet for some years, when he came back off of that internet drought, he did it live on the screensavers, and you're following in his footsteps in only that one respect, I might add. And it wasn't such a long drought.
Committed or anything like that.
No, it was a week off. You took a week off the internet.
Yeah, I took a week off the internet, and in fact, this entire month of January, I haven't done any news, no social media, no Twitter. So I feel like a caveman who's, sort of emerging, and he's like by the side of the interstate, and he's like very confused. There's a lot of noise and action, and it's very distracting. So my monobrow is sort of scrunched, like, what's happening?
Matt, were you off of work? How do you work at Google and not do the internet for a week at the same time?
So I did take a 1-week vacation at the beginning, and I love to read, so I just took like 10 books with, and
what'd you read?
From home. John dies at the end, which is, your classic tale of
spoiler alert,
horror comedy like Buffy, and the guy did his own stuff and he got a publishing deal, and then he got like a major motion picture with Paul Giamatti. So, Moonwalking with Einstein, just a whole bunch of different stuff.
So you only read novels with people's names in them?
Pretty much, actually. That's about right.
It's a new meme. So how was it? Was it fun? Was it great? Were you glad to get back? Were you kind of not happy about getting back?
It's kind of interesting how there's a lot of tempests in a teapot where if you're not there, somehow they magically kind of blow over on their own. And so I'm dreading a little bit coming back and people saying, oh, I can't believe this horrible thing has happened. And you're like, well, that's the 17th time that's happened. So that's not a huge surprise. But it is kind of wild. Like, you don't make as much time for taking care of business. And so I've worked down most of my email. I've taken care of most of my tasks around the house. So, I feel like my attention span has doubled. And so...
You're making all the rest of us look bad, Matt. Stop it.
No, it's going to be fun to see what I've missed, though. I'm kind of curious.
Who wants to tell them about Google being sold, huh?
So, Rupert Murdoch bought Google.
Oh, I knew Mission Impossible was the problem that was going to get us.
Matt, the dark, dirty secret is that you miss nothing. Like,
right.
I've taken time off the internet before and I felt that worry that I was missing something big. And, unless it's like Sandy or 9/11 or something, really huge, you really just don't miss stuff. You just don't miss much.
Well, and even when there was, some stuff that was actual news in my sphere, people would email me. So I'd find out about it either way. So it's a good chance to sort of take a step back and say, well, how much do we really need to be consuming the news? And with that, let's consume some news. What do you say?
I certainly, I used to watch the news kind of compulsively on TV. And boy, that's a cesspool. And if it is true that if you stop watching it when you go back, you go, wow, this is awful. They do nothing but report they search the world for the worst possible stories. And
there's no actual utility to it. Because my favorite thing about TV news is standing in front of the place where nothing's happened for the last 12 hours, but I'm standing here to act like I'm where things are happening, but nothing's behind me, but I'm just here wasting a lot of money standing here so I can make video.
Yeah.
I hate.
Yeah, the ones that frustrated me the most are the sort of human interest stories that are reported as if they're actually news. Like, if one person, the Casey Anthony type stuff, it's like a large fraction of the news when you get back, and it's like this is not really going to affect anybody else's life unless you want to wallow in it. So,
let me try this out on you. I have a new theory about the paradox of news. All right, get your no-dos out, folks. That information that has an impact on your life, that is really useful for you or your community, in a sense, is the most valuable, but it's also the most easily commodified because it's just information. Everything else is entertainment, right? The New York Times special thing about avalanches. I don't go to avalanches. I don't ski. It has no effect on my life. You want to read it, you read it. You don't, you don't, right? Columns and opinions. It's all entertainment. And that maybe if it's really, really, really good, like a movie, maybe you could actually charge for it. But the highest value is in the thing that that will be commodified immediately.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I allowed myself to look at like weather. These are things that are actually directly really useful for you. And what was interesting is even trying to go off the internet, I keep a lot of stuff in the cloud. And so I had to struggle with whether that was, on the internet or not.
Yes, it's on the internet. What's the struggle?
Well, I keep my to-do list. I used to keep it on a pad of paper in my pocket.
You don't get it anymore. Goodbye to-do list.
Yeah, so that's a little strange. But I do agree, Jeff, like there's so many things we can't really affect. And so worrying about them or struggling with them doesn't really matter. There's a very fine sliver of stuff where you actually can make a difference. And that's maybe worth paying attention to. But
it's pretty local. It's like here. And you probably don't need the internet to use it to look at it.
Or about your company or something. Yeah.
This is part of your 30 days, thing, right? Something new every 30 days.
That's right.
Yeah. What's next, Matt?
Next month is gluten-free.
Oh,
so
good.
No wheat. I'll be, at the end of the month, I'll be like, give me bread.
No, you won't. You won't. It's easy to give up gluten.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it doesn't even. That's why they call it gluten, because it doesn't even sound appealing. It's like glue. Oh yeah, I can give up glue. No glue for a month. I
could give up bread though. Bread.
Bread. That's different. I'm not giving up bread. So I go to pizza places now, and they have gluten-free pizza. I don't know what the hell it is.
Mm-hmm. I've got a whole store near me that's almost all gluten-free stuff. I can eat gluten. I don't need that.
Yeah, eat all. I think that it really is wheat, but they don't want to say it, right?
Right.
Because that would be like gluten I can give up. But this is Lent, right? You can give up something like really good for Lent.
Yeah, that's true. My wife and I have been alternating. So like an exercise one and a diet one, and then an exercise one, and then a nutrition one. So it's a nutrition month. We're actually doing February because it's a short month. So if we really love bread, then we can get back to it more quickly.
Yeah, well, I noticed you didn't do 30 days minus the internet.
Yeah.
That's a long, especially since it's your job.
Yeah, that would be hard.
That's a long
I'm dreading the month when Matt gives up fighting spam.
The nice thing is other people, the people on my team do a much better job than I would do at this point on fighting the spam. So
that's a bad sign. You've worked your way out of a job.
Yeah.
You're supposed to do that. But I always thought that seemed like counterproductive.
Methinks Matt is very humble.
Yes, he is a very
good engineers
humble man.
need a good leader. So
Google Plus now number 2 after Facebook.
As Victor Gadotra and I each said at the same time, that's a lot of ghosts.
Yeah. Did really Vic said that?
Yeah, he did.
Because that's kind of acknowledging something we've all thought, which is, if you make everybody or encourage everybody who gets a Gmail account to make a Google Plus account, then they're technically Google Plus users. But are they really using it? Number 2 social network. Better than Twitter.
What's your current attitude toward Google Plus, Leo?
I keep trying to use it, and it's just, it's nothing wrong with it. It's wonderful. It's just, it's. I don't know.
You forget about it.
You forget about it. Communities, I really thought, hey, this is great. This is going to turn it around, and I just never get over there.
But you don't forget about Twitter.
No, and you don't forget about, and then Twitter comes up with this thing called Vine, and that's kind of, there's something missing, and I can't figure it out what it is, because it's possible to create a new social network like Vine and be very compelling, and you really want to use it. Now, I doubt I'll use it after a few weeks, but you really want to use it. Google Plus, it just doesn't. What's wrong? I don't understand. What is wrong? Matt, you don't have. You can recuse yourself because you couldn't say there's something wrong with it.
I have to say, one of the very first things that I hit after my fast of internet was over was Google Plus, but it was also internal Google Plus. There are versions of Google Plus you can use within your company.
Right.
But to me, and I actually follow a lot of people within Google, and it turns out that makes it a really fascinating conversation, and it's incredibly interesting to me. And so I think part of the challenge is finding the right people.
Absolutely.
years finding the right people to follow on Twitter, or coordinating who to contact with, or get together with on Facebook. And so making that an easier thing to do is always going to be difficult. But if you can find the right people, I think you really can get a hotbed of interesting stuff going on. Because I've seen like people talking about Tesla inside of Google, and it's incredibly interesting. It makes me want to borrow somebody's Tesla and try it out, and swap notes and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, it must just be me, because to me it's like, it's kind of like the mildly interesting magazine you get at a dentist's office that's better than just staring into space, but not much.
See, I baited you so you can get in trouble, Leo.
But that, I'm being honest, and it's just, and I'm sure it's just me, but that's kind of how it feels. Like, yeah, that's mildly interesting. It's not that engaging, and then I quickly move on to something else. Am I the only one who feels that way?
No, but I still
it doesn't have the addictive hook for me either, I have to say.
There's something missing, and I don't know what it is.
I go back to it. I mean, it's a very efficient way to get the attention of Googlers, which is very handy to me. There are a lot of Googlers that are very active on it, and this is what we do. So I like being there for that. There's a lot of really great tech folks, but yeah, I have to kind of force myself to remember to go there, and it's just that addictive kind of hook.
It used to be my start page, and it isn't anymore. Tech Meme is.
Yeah, okay. Wait, you have a start page in your browser still?
Don't you?
I don't. I have a couple.
You open a blank page? That's worse than the dentist's office.
Yeah, I have a couple of pinned tabs, and then I have a blank page. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
By the way, I am not rooting against Google Plus. I am rooting for it. I think it should be. I always thought threaded discussions would be the best. I want it to succeed. I think there should be. I don't like how Twitter runs its business. I've always been critical of that. Facebook, oh my God, it's a nightmare. Google has, Google Plus should be wonderful, and I just don't. It's not compelling to me.
I think one thing you have to consider, and let me try this out on you and see whether you buy it, is, Facebook's been around for 9 years, Twitter's been around for quite a while. If you look at how far Google Plus has come in roughly a year and a half, it's a pretty good amount of velocity. And so if we can get the people on there where they're interested, it's kind of funny. I was exercising with somebody recently, and they sort of mentioned out of the blue that they really liked the Google Plus app on the iPhone, and that it was really richly compelling and very nice and a good experience.
It is.
And
gorgeous.
So I sort of feel like, as Google keeps working on trying to make sure that Google Plus is completely integrated into Google, then over time, hopefully there is more value add there, and people find it more addictive and enjoyable, and they just find it more compelling. So I think if you compare it against people that have been around for a very long time, yeah, that's always tricky because they've got a pretty far lead. But if you look at how far Google Plus has come in 18 months or something like that, it's pretty good by that yardstick.
Well, certainly. But then the article that we're referring to that says it's the number 2 social network, you can't have it both ways. Is it the number 2 social network, or is it just this youthful thing that's just trying and starting and isn't yet great? That's what I mean, is that, yeah, it's number 2 in raw numbers, but that's mostly because of Google's strategy to incorporate into every damn thing Google does. And
Although
so
YouTube is separate there. It was interesting to me that YouTube is separate in that
Right.
part. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, which would make me think, oh, is this? I need a clarification on that number. Is the Google Plus number across all the products, or is that people going to plus.google.com and interacting there? It's kind of fuzzy, right? And the one nice thing about Facebook being kind of a walled garden, it's very clear you're either on Facebook or
Right.
you're not.
Right.
You're liking from someone else. I mean, the other thing about that chart too is Facebook is by far number one, far and away number one, double Google Plus at number 2, and then everything else kind of trails off.
Your point's well taken. You add Google Plus and YouTube, it's close to Facebook size.
Right.
Yeah,
I think
that's true.
If you look at Google, for years and years and years, we didn't even want to know who you were, right? In any way, shape, or form. You come to us, we give you search results, maybe some ads. You click on either one. You're happy, we're happy, life is good. And so I think Google was actually very slow to sort of wake up that if we know a little bit about you, if you're willing to tell us a little bit about where you are or what you're interested in, we can return better search results. We can, find more interesting content for you. So it's kind of interesting. It's like all these independent groups came up with their own silos of like a version of identity, and only now are we getting around to kind of getting that unified, which
really well
is long
said,
overdue. So
Yeah.
And I've been arguing the same thing with media companies that they only saw us as a mass. And the only way they're going to succeed is by learning from that lesson and treating us as individuals, which means you know about us so you can feed us relevance. Google's goal is to give you relevance. The only way it can is if it knows you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm suffering from total, speaking of not remembering to go there, I'm just suffering from serious social network overload.
Me too.
It's like Twitter and Tumblr and Facebook and Google Plus and Path and Quora. And like so many of these are really good. Quora, I could spend 2 hours on Quora every day just reading answers and questions. But I forget to go there and I wind up just going to the thing that sort of popped up in my face at the time, which I don't like reacting that way. I like to be more mindful about where I spend my time and what I do, but it's so hard to figure out, and it just turns out to be the thing that's like the easiest, that I get the most amount of value with the least amount of effort. And so far that's been basically Twitter for me. But I hate that too, because there are a lot of things about Twitter I don't like. So it's hard. I just feel like so many things are competing for our attention at all times, and there's so many great communities out there that sometimes I just feel like, I'm going to take a week off the internet and read books.
I think that's really it. And I think if anything, maybe the only thing Google Plus did wrong is it came late. If it had, I would have loved to have seen it best Twitter and Facebook, because it is I feel more open and more friendly.
The internet's not
Although I still want to write API. Now, didn't we hear a rumor? I heard somebody say, "Oh no, there's a write API. It's coming any minute now." Did we not hear that?
I don't know if we heard that. I keep thinking like next Google I/O, there's going to be a huge Google Plus API announcement. But I thought that last year, and it didn't quite happen. So
I understand Google's reluctance, because what you don't want to be is just a place where people port their tweets.
Right.
And we saw that with Buzz. And
yes.
You don't want to just have it get polluted. So
yeah, that's what happens to almost everywhere. So I completely understand that. But it does mean that you can't have a client. You have to use the Google client. Mm-hmm. It's just there's that's how Twitter built its passionate fan base with third-party clients. So then they killed him, of course. Yeah, but that's another story for another day. I think the reason we maybe, Gina, like Twitter is the way it's turned out to be is a signaling engine for everything else. Yeah. So by looking at my tweet stream or Flipboard, which is essentially looking at my tweet stream, I see it's aggregating. It's an aggregator. And so it's not just, now I guess in theory so is Google Plus, but even when I go to the Explore button on Google Plus, people might say, well, you're just following the wrong people, Leo. So I go to Explore, which is the hot stuff on Google Plus. I even find that just kind of mildly interesting, but nothing that I would just say,
that tends to have too much Paris Hilton for my taste.
Well, maybe I need to make my own Explore feed. Here's a pure white gold Mercedes-Benz. Fascinating.
There's friction in the posting, right? Like to do a really good Google Plus post, you want to have a giant image, you want to have a video, that the app looks great because it's kind of multimedia focused. You want to put in a little bolding, you want to have a link. I always feel bad about sharing something without saying something about it, but on Twitter you can just retweet without doing that. So there's a little bit of friction with that.
Yeah, you don't use it to say this happened and that happened. You don't live blog there, the world. By the way, Matt, there's a strange thing that happens, not to put you in the spam bucket here.
That's cool.
Learning from Elgin that big pictures work, and I put a big picture up, and then a lot of times, suddenly, one post, which was a really sad post about a girl's suicide, I had a picture of Amanda Palmer there, and I had 350 spam comments, mostly from some fake Asian names, saying, wow, hip, good picture. What's the benefit they get out of doing that? That's what I don't understand. I don't know the logic of it.
Yep. And it's a slightly different team, but I'll give you my best guess, which is, they're trying to look real, because if they can build up some signals where they look real over time, then maybe when they finally do their big payload and they drop a Viagra link or something, then the algorithms might be a little more reluctant, because they're like, this guy has commented 50 times and nobody's, claimed that it's spam. But yeah, a lot of the times people are just trying to build up some reputation that they'll then abuse later.
Thank you.
That makes sense.
I've been waiting for somebody to explain this to me, because it seems like there's no benefit at all. All right. It doesn't work that well, I would guess.
Right.
Because doesn't everybody go through those posts and go spam, 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 spam?
Yeah.
In fact, in some ways, it could have a counterproductive effect. It's identifying you.
Well, and if you're really smart as a spammer, you might do some tests posts, and you might figure out the people who don't mark things as spam,
Right.
and then comment on those. So, it's always an arms race where whatever we do, they try to figure out how to get around it.
Yeah. And what a fun job you have.
It is fun. I do enjoy it.
All right. Well, let's talk. We're going to take a break, come back, and I want to talk a little bit about Blackberry. Not RIM,
What?
by the way.
What's
They don't
that?
call them. They don't call themselves RIM anymore. Mostly because people just felt it was weird to say, I want to get a job at RIM. I'm glad somebody got that. But now they're...
Show title.
But now, that was a RIM shot, by the way. But now they're calling it Blackberry, and we'll look at it. And actually, I want one, but maybe you can talk me down.
You want everything.
I want everything. So maybe you can talk me down. I'll tell you what I would love to have. I would love it that I would never have to go to the post office again. Well, I don't. Hey, wow, isn't that amazing? Thanks to Stamps.com. Stamps.com is like the pro tip for people who do a lot of mailing. You don't need a postage meter. You don't need special ink. You certainly don't need to go to the post office. Everything you can do at the post office, you can do from your desk. Print your own U.S. postage with your printer, your computer. You got it all at Stamps.com. And yes, the rates are going up, but Stamps.com handles that automatically. In fact, with that great scale, you never pay a penny more in postage than you have to. You plop that letter or package on the scale. It's a USB scale. It tells Stamps.com. You then print out the postage if it's a package, or you can even print right on the envelope if you're just sending out, invoices or, mailers or whatever. If you do a lot of that, boy, it's fantastic. It prints not just the address, which it can get from your address book, from QuickBooks, from the website you're using, but it also prints your return address, prints your company logo if you want, and it prints the stamps. I mean, it is a total solution. Click, print, and mail. And the best part is, even if it's a giant package, the mail carrier comes to you, picks it up. You don't have to get up from your desk. You can even schedule free pickups. You get discounts you can't get at the post office. It prints out the forms for international mailing, and if you're an eBay, Amazon, PayPal, Etsy seller, you can use Stamps.com, and it will automatically take the recipient data, the mailing information from the website, and put it right in there. So it just saves you a lot of time. If you use Express Mail or Priority Mail, not only do you save, you also will get automatic emails to the recipient with tracking numbers and all of that. So here's the deal. If you want to try this, and you really ought to, if you're a small business, if you do mailing, and if you do maybe more than 5 or 10 letters a day, actually, if you do more than a few letters a day, it's probably worth it. Go to Stamps.com, click the radio microphone. It's certainly worth it to do the trial offer, and enter our offer code TWIG, T-W-I-G, and you'll get a $110 bonus value, including more postage, $55 in free postage, coupons you can use over the first few months of your Stamps.com subscription. You also get a free digital scale. It's really pretty. $5 supply kit, 4-week trial. All you have to do is go to Stamps.com, click the microphone, use the offer code TWIG. If you've heard me talk about it before and you've been putting it off, don't put it off any longer. I've tried them all. This is the one. I've been a Stamps.com member for 10 years. Stamps.com. So we actually, Tech News Today, got up early and did a special edition, 7 a.m. our time, covering the BlackBerry announcement. BB10, the new operating system, looks very sweet. Gina, have you looked at this at all?
No.
This is the problem.
About BlackBerry.
This is the problem. Nobody else has. Wall Street tanked RIM stock by 12%, so maybe even Wall Street isn't excited about this. Really, the problem is it won't be available in the U.S. till mid-March. It's already, late, delayed, and frankly, there's Android, there's iPhone. I mean, even Windows Phone has a lead. It's got to be tough.
I make fun of all my Canadian friends for holding on dearly to their Blackberries as an act of patriotism.
I have to say, this is a pretty modern operating system. It's a real time. It's fast. It's got some nice features, some nice redesigned features. There's 2 models. There's the Z10, which is a keyboardless version of the BlackBerry, and then the BB10, which has a keyboard. Okay, just can't get anybody interested in this.
We talked a little bit about this on All About Android last night. About there's a new number that like 92% of smartphones shipped maybe last quarter was were either iOS or Android, and it kind of confirmed what I was feeling is that as long as my interest is concerned, at least it's still a 2-horse race.
Yep. 4.2-inch screen, that's kind of tiny.
Yep.
1280 by 768 though, it's good resolution. That's more pixel density than in a Retina iPhone, 356 pixels per inch. Dual core, 1.5 gigahertz processor. Well, gee, dual core seems a little not too many, given that we're about to see the Galaxy S4 with 8 cores. 2 gigs of RAM, though, that's good. 16 gigs of storage, a micro SD card slot so you can expand it. It's really got beautiful multitasking. 70,000 applications, although that number is a little deceiving because a lot of them are ported applications. They were literally paying developers to port their stuff over.
Does it run Chrome? I think that's the litmus test for anything I want to play. I want to use.
Well, it has Angry Birds.
Need Chrome.
It has Skype.
Need Google Chrome.
Rdio, Angry Birds. Did I say Angry Birds? It's got Kindle. No Chrome. No Chrome. No Chrome.
Google Maps probably.
No. Oh yeah. You know that's a. What does it have for nav? I don't know.
It has Bing.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I think.
Didn't mean to hurt you.
That was the funny moment at. I went to a Facebook thing this week, yesterday, to show off Graph Search, and they had all these media people. It was an entire table of they went around the table and introduced themselves. Hi, I'm social media from ABC, from CBS, it was all social media people, big table. So anyway, they show a web search, and it comes up with Bing, and the whole room kind of quietly chortled as once.
Oh my God! You know, Dvorak went for this was years ago. Dvorak would ask people what search engine you use, and if you said Alta Vista or Yahoo, he'd know you weren't a geek. If you said Google, he'd go, yeah. But this was like when Google was first starting out. But Google has been the litmus test for 10 years. It still is.
Yeah.
If you say Alta Vista today, people would really laugh.
Well, I'm a mental block. What was the one that came out of Berkeley?
Ask?
No.
Oh, Berkeley. No. Inktomi?
Inktomi, that was it, yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought it was Inktomi. No?
I think it might be Inktomi, yeah.
No one knows and no one cares.
Cares anymore. It's dead.
It's gone. They got bought by
Yahoo, I think.
Yahoo, yeah.
Oh, well, we know what happens then.
And then, of course, Yahoo no longer does search. So, in fact, somewhere there's a machine with the Inktomi code sitting on it, and it's not turned on.
Poor thing.
That's it. Goodbye.
Tarball somewhere.
What? Yeah. Really, seriously, what happens to old search code when it dies?
And Yahoo bought Overture, All the Web, Alta Vista, and
broadcasting.com
and Inktomi. It's like all the other search engines Yahoo kind of sucked together, and then they decided, we're just going to turn the search code off and use Microsoft. And so I kind of wish they would open that code up or kind of increase the diversity a little bit, because you're just running along and then suddenly 4 of the people you're running with all landed on the same team.
Do you think when Marissa went to Yahoo, first started her job, their first day, she goes and they say, here's the keys to the executive washroom. Here's your office key, and this is the key to the closet where we've stored all the old search technologies. It's in there. And I would open the door and look.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'd be unzipping that file for sure.
Give me the tarball.
Yeah.
Open source it. Do something.
Let's see, what repository? CVS, most likely.
Yeah, CVS.
Yeah. Probably too old for Git.
Oh God, yeah.
And Subversion.
Git was just a gleam in Linus's eye.
It's true.
I think Linus was just a gleam in his father's eye. We're talking a long time ago, internet time. All right. So there's literally no excitement whatsoever for BlackBerry. I did, folks.
Sorry, Leo.
I tried to gin up some excitement.
I wish them well.
Okay, here's another exciting thing. Microsoft Office is here.
Wow, you're just...
You're a barrel of laughs. I don't want to sit next to you at the football game.
I'm an older person, and I remember when these were important products.
Yeah.
Like 3 years ago. What happened? It's so funny how this stuff changes.
Yeah, Microsoft had a big tent in Bryant Park in New York. I thought I'd wander over, but then why?
Office is still alive and well in corporate environments.
I'm paying for it.
Big organization.
I bought it. It's $100 a year, and you can install it on 5 computers. Microsoft won't be happy to hear that 3 of them are Macintoshes, but they count.
And it does cloudy things, doesn't it?
Oh, by default, it saves to SkyDrive, Microsoft's cloud solution, by default. Yep. So if you're not paying attention, you're not saving your documents to your hard drive at all.
Huh.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that is. Yeah. Interesting.
The power of defaults on a Microsoft platform.
Yeah, well, more so than anywhere else, right?
Yeah.
So how many people still use the Internet Explorer start page? Everybody. Eric Schmidt.
Well, Leo, yeah, we need to get some life back in the show after those 2 topics.
Would you,
Yeah.
please, Jeff? I know you're sick. I know you're dying, but you got more cheerful and chipperness than I do. Give us something.
Well, you were about to go this. Eric Schmidt, futurist.
Eric Schmidt, futurist.
Now, here's the problem. This is going to depress you, too.
Oh, no. Well,
yeah.
yes, because the future is cyber terrorists targeted by drone strikes, online identities taken hostage and held for ransom, parents explaining online privacy to their kids before sex.
Gosh. I'm trying to imagine sitting Etta down.
This is my favorite. Virtual kidnappings, ransoming your ID for real money.
Yeah.
Rather than keeping captives in the jungle, groups like FARC may prefer a virtual hostage. That's how important online ID is. Somebody needs to goose Eric.
By the way, when he says FARC, it's FARC. They're a Colombian
right.
rebel group, not the FARC report out of not FARC.com. I was like, the goons? Why would they? I could see a host of renegade FARCers doing that.
Here's another one. Terrorists and criminals could use drones to carry improvised explosive devices that could result in conflict between civil and military drones.
Well,
It could happen over the U.S.-Mexico border.
Isn't that what Daniel Suarez wrote about in
Yep. Kill Decision.
Kill Decision? It was all about privatizing the drones.
So that brought a lot of happiness to the show, didn't it?
So he was speaking to a student group at Cambridge University. First of a number of speeches, get ready, the first of a number of speeches outlining his view of the future. I don't think he's going to be invited back. That was really great, Eric. And I think it was so good you could stop right there. We don't need any more of your uplifting futurism. Many people, I talk to many people, and it's easy to have a dystopian vision of the future. It always has been. Look at George Orwell and so forth. But
this is odd for Eric, because Eric is usually, of course, technology is good and leading to good things, but we rarely see that. Maybe it was his trip to North Korea just made him depressed.
He said that. He kind of said, after coming back from North Korea, I guess it was kind of bleak. 5 billion people not connected to the internet. Not in all of North Korea, but
5 billion.
But at the same time, it feels like,
Total.
Yes, it's true that you can see a lot of this happening already. I see all kinds of reports of people getting their identity hijacked online and offline and all that sort of stuff. But for me, this represents some opportunity.
Right.
If you can be the company or the entity that helps people protect their identities, then that's a huge way that you can protect people going forward, and then you can unlock all kinds of interesting things. I just realized my passport's about to expire in August, so I'm filling out a paper form with a picture of me and doing all this sort of stuff. And in theory, if you could do a better job of that, then life could be more seamless and more interesting.
And part of it, when I do work with around the Postal Service and all that, part of the thought about the Postal Service is identity could be a huge, important job for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's depressing. That's uplifting? Oh, good.
Okay, well, let's flip it over then, Leo. Suppose we know who you are.
Yes.
You can walk up to your Tesla or whatever, and the door automatically pops out, right? And it already knows who you are, and it already has all the preferences you like. You walk up to your computer, it unlocks, it knows who you are. it's maybe doing fingerprint, or it's looking at your eye, doing a retina scan, and all this sort of stuff becomes seamless. And now you don't have to carry around all this junk in your pocket. You can get better stuff. You walk up to anybody else's computer and you can get the programs you're used to using. So there are positive aspects to this.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's probably the case that, you think about things like climate change, the fact, that there are, 3 automobiles per person that are unused or whatever that is. Those you have to, the way humans are, you have to have a crisis before we acknowledge it and say, okay, let's fix it. We have autonomous vehicles, perfect. We know how to do it. The technology exists. It's clear the benefit. Private ownership of automobiles is really wasteful. It's really dumb. But it's not going to happen until there's a crisis. Right? Or maybe am I wrong? It just feels like that's how humans work. We have to live in crisis mode.
A lot of the time we do.
All right, I'm going to go hang myself now.
I am not helping, am I? But no, I'm trying to turn this into a positive. I do, because for every bad thing that's coming, like, drone warfare, there's amazing medical breakthroughs, breakthroughs in the understanding of how the brain works, technology breakthroughs. Well, there's still wonderful, amazing.
It gives us choice. That's what that's the society is making choices. We're figuring this out. We ran a session at Davos on norms, and we're just negotiating our norms and figuring out, given the choices we have, how we should operate together. That's what societies do.
But who makes that choice, and when do they make it?
We all make it together. We negotiate them, right? How do you negotiate that we in America all walk on the right side of the sidewalk,
right?
Unless there's a Brit coming down the sidewalk.
It's funny because somebody did that a long time ago, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
I was doing my usual Kodak camera 1890s Kodaker shtick in Davos, and somebody said he saw, if he saw somebody in a park taking a picture of his kid, he'd, smash him. The norm is you don't do that.
Really? What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't take a picture of your kid in a park?
No, somebody else's kid.
You don't take a picture of somebody else's kid in a
kid. Yeah.
No wonder the world's depressing. Is that really true? Is it not okay to take a picture of somebody else's kid?
Aren't there laws about you can't even be at a playground in some cities unless you're with a child, like just an adult kind of on your own?
You mean you don't even have to be a sex offender just anybody?
I think
I know I'm not allowed there, but anybody. No, I'm just kidding. That was a joke. Bad joke. Sorry. It
was funny when I visited China. A lot of people wanted to. I was with a group of Americans who had some of them had children. Some of the children were visiting the orphanages from where they were adopted. But the Chinese wanted to take pictures of the kids, and the Americans I was with were kind of uncomfortable with that. And so at one point, I heard one sort of explaining, well, in the U.S. You ask permission, or that's not something, you don't take pictures of other people's kids and the Chinese person was kind of like, why?
Really? Why?
What
is wrong with you?
Well, sometimes bad things happen. They're like, no, that doesn't happen here.
The terrorists won. The terrorists won.
The terrorists won. That's what happened.
This is proof positive. The terrorists won.
So I put a picture of myself in my Android hat up on Google Plus, and somebody came in and said, from China, said, in China, if a man wears a green hat, it means his wife is cheating on him.
Oh.
There's a norm for you.
And somebody does this voluntarily? How about a green headband? Is that? Why? Wait a minute. Tell me the truth. Does that make any sense? So, your wife's cheating on you, so you say, I know what I'll do. I'll wear a green hat.
I know.
Does it mean that she's cheating on you with a newer Android phone? Is it...
My wife's using a Note 2.
She secretly ordered the Nexus 4, which is now in stock.
Oh, hey, did you do it?
I didn't do it. I'm trying to be really responsible. I got a kid now, Jeff. Come on, last year's model. I got a Galaxy Nexus. It's good enough. I know I egged you on, which is totally not fair.
Which one are we trying to get her to buy?
Well, she was debating. Now you can get the Nexus 4 now. It's back. It's
only $300 and it's beautiful. I played with one yesterday. It really is nice.
Yeah. It is nice. But, and by the way, it was Gina who said, no, Jeff, go ahead. Open up the box. Go ahead.
I really want to see it.
She's a push-a-man. But why do you have two, Jeffrey?
Truth is...
I see. There's two different.
You're right, Gina. It's not... Well, it's the fact that you couldn't tell the difference. It's not that different.
Right.
It's a nice phone, but no, you could probably wait for the next thing.
It's that wireless charger thing with the Daydream. I mean, I know I've got Daydream on the wireless charger though. Really kind of tempted me, but I think I'm gonna try and wait. I'm kind of gonna try to be restrained here. But man, it is a nice looking phone.
It is nice. It feels good too. Once I figured out taking off the plastic around the edges, it really feels good.
Every Nexus, except for the 10 and the 4, I've had every Nexus. So I feel bad about like breaking my Nexus streak. Although I'm not as interested in the 10, but definitely the 4.
I'm excited.
I think as the host of All About Android, you actually have to get it.
This is a dangerous road to go down, Leo.
I think you do.
If I have so many Android handsets around the house that my wife is just like, okay, no, really, what is going on? I'm like, I have to test. I'm a developer.
She's not in the tech industry, is she?
She's not a big fan of the extra because every device has a charger and the cords and the case and the thing. Everything has kind of extra cruft.
I actually have a large piece of furniture in my house that's designed to hold things that are charging.
I have a shelf. We built a shelf.
It was
into
purpose-built.
our mudroom with that.
Yeah, this was purpose-built by the wood whisperer, Mark Spagnuolo, for me. It's beautiful wood. It's this big. It holds like 12 phones, all with their USB cables. It's gorgeous.
That sounds really nice.
Get that, and your wife will say, oh, it's a beautiful piece of furniture.
Great.
Great. Get more phones.
Here's my problem, Leo. I'm going to make a confession here. So we have a shelf when you come in from the garage, mudroom there. There's a closet and there's a shelf that has just one long strip and we can charge everything, which I loved for years. Now, when I wake up, I pick up my Nexus 7 or my phone, so I need to charge it next to the bed.
Yeah.
That's kind of sad.
And that means it glows, which is not good.
Yeah, it's not good.
I'm trying to cut down the glow. After you have about 5 or 6 phones at your bed, the whole room it's like daytime.
And it's like microwaving your brain while you sleep as well.
Yeah. What I do is I put a plate of eggs there, and they're scrambled in the morning. It's fantastic. They're ready to go. A couple more phones, I could fry bacon. And I'll be set. I love this guy, Stephen J. Crawley, consulting engineer. He says he's a consulting wireless engineer. He says Google, I didn't know this, filed an application at the FCC last week seeking permission to conduct secret testing of an experimental radio system.
Okay, somebody tie down Matt Cutts until he tells us what it is.
You will tell us, Mr. Cutts?
This is one of those, if I say, then I'll get fired kind of thing.
Do you know? Can you say if you know?
So, yes, I do know. But the beautiful thing about working at Google is that they trust you, right? So these sort of stories come out in the Wall Street Journal, and every week we have a TGIF, which is actually on Thursdays now instead of Fridays. So I don't know why they still call it TGIF.
You're always ahead of things at Google.
Yeah. Well, they did it so that people could dial in from around the world and not have it be, the weekend or something like that. So that was actually the number one question. And because, they trust you at Google pretty well, they told a lot of people, yeah, this is what was going on with that particular thing. So I can't actually talk about it, but I can say, hey, if you join Google, you'll learn about all kinds of cool projects.
Okay, so Chad, I want you to zoom in. Zoom in on Matt.
You can see the screen.
We're going to hit the
Now I'm going to read some stuff, Matt, and just listen. No, I won't do that to you, Matt.
I would play NASA, and I'd be able to look in her glasses, which were the thick '70s Coke bottle type glasses, and you could read her cards right across. A game or two, and then I felt guilty and had to tell her. But
yeah, no fun playing D&D with somebody you can read their cards. An exhibit said now. So Stephen J. Crowley, consulting engineer. Did I mention that he's a consulting engineer? In his blog post, says Google requested that the application be held confidential by the FCC. In fact, even the request that it be held confidential has been redacted. So they don't even want you to know it's confidential. So he says, based on what he could see in this, they're going to test, it's going to be around the campus in Mountain View, up to 50 base stations, 200 user devices. Stations will be indoors and outdoors with a range each of 100 to 200 meters and 500 to 1,000 meters respectively, both directional and non-directional, within a 2-mile radius of the campus. So it's a dense network that could be supposed to have a very high carrying capacity for data. The bands requested are currently allocated to the educational broadband service and the broadband radio service, which happens to be Clearwire's frequencies. Google did sell its stake in Clearwire, but remember that there was this whole thing going on where Dish was trying to buy Clearwire. Sprint wants to reabsorb Clearwire. These frequencies are kind of interesting. They might even be in play. So he supposes it could be a super dense LTE network using the Clearwire frequencies.
Density affecting what?
Well, it could be TV.
Oh.
I don't know. Could be just
the
high
density gives you more bandwidth.
Yes. Yeah. No. Higher carrying capacity, so it's higher bandwidth. Very high bandwidth. It's their first experimental radio application.
Okay, so Matt, answer me this. There's 200 devices, it's reported. Mm-hmm. Do you guys, is it like, do you go sidle up and be nice to somebody in the hopes that you get one?
You want one, yeah.
Well, I love working at Google because you get, I was playing with something on Google Apps earlier in Gmail, and something new popped up, and I was like, ooh. And then you have to search for like the string to see whether it's available to the outside world, which is why you never want to project your screen because you might have some little weird experiment. But I do love one real perk of having been at Google a while is when there's something neat going on, like some device or something like that. I'm like, ooh, I would be a happy dog fooder and give you lots of feedback. And usually they're people have been very nice about letting me try stuff out. Because
you're the Matt Cutts, of course.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they actually do open up to dog food for a lot of different people because it helps them if they can test any sort of, whether it's a new, laptop or a new, tablet or whatever.
Matt, show us your wrist. Do you have a Google Watch on?
He's got something on.
I do not.
It's disguised as a Nike Fuel Band, but I don't buy it.
Yeah, no, it's just a Nike Fuel.
Wow, it's a good disguise. It's a very good disguise.
Only 580.
You've been lazy today. Get to work.
Boy.
What's your goal?
That's just a shell.
Oh, just 2,000.
Yeah.
So I need to keep working.
I used to have my goal at 3,000, and I never won.
I made my goal.
I lowered it down. Ooh, look. What's your goal?
2,500.
Yeah, that's what mine is too. 2,500 seems like a good number. I can get that many days, but not all.
It's BS because the truth is I gesticulate like an Italian. That's
work.
You just wait till the end of the day and you're sort of doing this in place and you're not even moving your legs and you're like, yes, Fuel Band, I am running. Yeah, it's a little easy to
it doesn't sound like that big a story. It sounds like you're going to test some sort of high-speed wireless data network.
Yeah, well,
cool.
Google,
of course, they're
always
testing
has a lot of stuff going on like this. Like
of course,
always
they're
various skunk projects.
Yeah,
so it's nothing like
It's not come on, big deal, right? I like this. Google Giving is giving a grant of $1 million to fund free Raspberry Pi for school kids. I think sugary treats for school kids is a great idea.
It is.
But this is not the Raspberry Pi you're thinking. It's a microcomputer, of course. 15,000 UK school children are going to get Raspberry Pi. This is the kind of thing you want to promote STEM. Give people give grants to schools. The Raspberry Pi is $30.
Yeah.
I think it's like half of it is for the device and the rest is for training, which is important.
So good
to teachers.
That's right. Yeah, you see that all the time where they dump technology on a school, say, good luck, have fun. You got to train them. You got to show the teachers how to use it. That's so great.
It looks like it's the Pies plus support and teaching materials.
Yeah. Yay.
Very cool.
Get people really hooked on it. But my favorite is they're giving 1 million to Pi hackers and they're giving Pi million to Chrome OS hackers.
Google always loves those numbers. I love it. $3.14159 million. Actually goes out to several more decimal places.
Yes. They'll give you a fraction of a cent. So it sounds like the idea behind this one is, Google has given money if people are able to crack and at Chrome, we try to make sure it's very secure, runs in a sandbox, all that sort of stuff. So they are now giving up to $3.1 million for successful attacks of Chrome OS.
Wow.
And I think you can earn up to $150,000 for the most successful exploit. So if you can crack that version of Chrome OS, in a persistent way, at that point you can pretty much take the rest of the year off at a desert island because you've earned your $150K salary for the year.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
There's
Does that, I imagine that's very popular among Googlers, and they kind of line up. But it's not just Googlers. It could be anybody, right?
Yeah, it's open to anybody. And I think Googlers are obligated to actually just disclose the bug if they find one.
Yeah.
But there's a contest in March called Ponium, and it's one of my favorite things because it's like the Super Bowl of Chrome hackers and other hackers because they see if they can hack the machines. And so every year you're like, is somebody going to come up with a new attack for Firefox or Chrome? And last year they came up with 2 attacks on Chrome, and they chained like 12 vulnerabilities together. And the Chrome guys, to their credit, love to find out about that because it makes things more secure for everybody else.
Yeah, no, it's great. Every company usually does something like this. It's a really good idea. But Google is easily the most generous of any company I've ever seen for paying for these bugs and these bug hunts. That's really great. I presume Ponium will be on Pi Day, March 14th, right?
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah. And they can award it. No, I don't think we can go on too much on that. Let's take a break. When we come back, is YouTube launching a pay-per-view channel? Interesting thought. Our show today brought to you by LegalZoom.com. It's not a law firm. It helps you get your legal business done. Self-help legal documents, business and personal. And, by the way, if you feel like, I'd like to talk to a lawyer about this, they've got a great legal network with fixed-rate pricing, so you can talk to a lawyer as well. But so much of this you can do yourself. I did it myself for the LLC. So if you want to start a corporation, LLCs at LegalZoom start at $99. Try that at a law firm. And it makes a big difference. I got to say, it's very easy to step through on the website. You walk through the Q&A, and you're there. You're done sooner than you think. You can do an S Corp. You can do a will, too, a last will and testament, trusts. If you're a blogger, did you trademark your blog's name? It's not a bad idea. Trademark your logo, easy to do. Copyrights. They've even got patents, NDAs, and more. A living trust at LegalZoom. Or a will, $69 for a will. If you don't have a will, if the government decides what happens with your money and your kids, if you have kids, you really should have a will. In the past 12 years, 2 million Americans have used LegalZoom for LLCs, wills, trusts, trademark, and more. They've happily gotten this stuff done without paying big legal fees. In most of these cases, it's so simple you can do it yourself. But if you do have questions or you need advice, you can access their extensive network of attorneys through their legal plans available in most states. And by the way, when you're choosing a legal plan attorney, of course, they've vetted them, but you then also have access to their online profiles and completely unedited customer reviews as well. So you really, can choose with confidence. This is such a great service. LegalZoom.com. They're not a law firm, but you can get self-help services at your specific direction or speak to a legal plan attorney to get your questions answered and get ongoing advice. For a special thank you for mentioning us, use the offer code TWIG, and you'll get $10 off at checkout. It's, I know it's not a huge amount, but it's just a way of saying thank you for letting them know you heard this on This Week in Google. TWIG is the offer code. $10, that's a lunch, a Starbucks. LegalZoom.com, offer code TWIG. We thank them so much for their support. Really is a great company. I've known them and used them for years, and I can recommend them. This is a rumor, unless Matt wants to confirm it.
This one I have no idea about.
Okay. It's YouTube. YouTube is really kind of run autonomously, isn't it, from Google? It's like a separate company.
Yeah.
According to Ad Age, a new revenue model for YouTube is prepping to launch paid subscriptions for individual channels. Really where the information comes from is the channel producers have been approached by YouTube and asked to submit applications to create channels users would have to pay to access. First paid channels, according to Ad Age, will cost somewhere between $1 and $5 a month. in addition to episodic content. And, actually, this makes a lot of sense. If, you've had a show you've been pitching and you want to, go direct to your audience, this gives you the ability to do that.
Still what I think Howard Stern should do.
Yeah. Imagine. I mean, we wouldn't do that, but I can imagine a Howard Stern. Huge. Yeah. Think how much he'd make. More than he's getting, I'm sure.
And right in his pocket.
Yes.
Well, not with YouTube.
No middleman. Well, YouTube's I'm sure YouTube takes a cut.
Oh, yeah.
YouTube is also considering charging for content libraries and access to live events a la pay-per-view, as well as self-help or financial advice shows. You know what I want to try? G4 recently changed format, and they have all this old Tech TV content. Do you think people, if we were able, and we're talking to them, try to get the Tech TV content, if we put it on YouTube and charged $1 a month, do you think people would pay for it? No, it's too old. It's probably too old.
Some absolutely would. The question is how many.
Yeah, not enough.
Yeah.
You have fans.
Now, Machinima, Maker Studios, those guys are already, millions of views. Is it because it's free? Salar Kamangar at All Things D last year talked about the potential to poach second or third tier cable networks that were having trouble building big enough audiences on cable, which is very expensive, move them to YouTube, charge subscriber fees directly. Or maybe even to internet distributors, other internet distributors. He said at the time, if we have a subscription model, then that's absolutely something that becomes possible. So obviously YouTube's been thinking about this for at least a year. They have had rentals. They have video rentals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the one hand, it's depressing to think, oh, well, you could get nickel and dime to death. But the truth is, that's what happens with cable. I pay for all these channels I don't use.
Pay a la carte.
And, a lot of $1 a month, so you could get 100 channels for...
It's not going to work for everything. I mean, it's a paywall. So, we could never do... I don't think we could ever do that. We could maybe make, special content. You get direct access to Jeff Jarvis's brain. Something like that.
But there are big fans out there. Like, I've been training for a big race, and so I did a 24-mile run, and so what I listened to were 3 twigs. And, because if I listen to music that's too pulse-pounding, then I run too fast. So twig is a nice, steady, run a marathon.
We slow him down. We make him go marathon speed.
Moderate speed, yeah. So I can imagine a lot of people paying for, like, the equivalent of back issues,
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. All right, let's get the change log. Ladies and gentlemen, break out the Trump. Somebody said I look like a sriracha bottle.
Well, that's a compliment because sriracha is delicious.
It is delicious. And spicy.
And spicy.
I got a red, for those of you listening at home, I've got a bright green headband on, like the top on a sriracha bottle, and a red Niners jersey, like the bottle of a sriracha bottle.
I'm Google image searching sriracha bottles right now because I'm testing out a new item in the change log.
Leo Sriracha right there.
Go ahead, screen cap. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we bring you the trumpets, which signals the change log.
The Google change log.
Well, you should go to Google image search right now and search for a sriracha bottle because not only will you see that Leo looks like it, but you'll also see that Google is slowly rolling out. I got it, so I think it's pretty far rolled out. Google's rolling out a new image search interface. It's very similar to their tablet interface to image search. It's really nice. It reduces the number of clicks that you have to see the larger version of an image. And you can use your keyboard to move from one image to quickly kind of flip through a set of images. Really nice. It used to be that you had to click on an image and then it would load the originating page in the background.
This is so much better.
It's way, way, way better.
I always hated that transparent background of the page that we saw.
Yeah, I did too.
That's some copyright complaints here.
Yeah, because I guess that was why they did the page, right? The source.
Yeah.
But there's still a link to the source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I think there's 4 times as many links, and I think the blog post said that the net average click-through rate actually went up.
Okay.
So,
I'm
as long
arguing
as
with
people get
that.
their
Yes, I
traffic,
agree. It
hopefully
doesn't
they're
mean, but
happy.
hey, lawyers got to eat, Matt.
Right.
Yeah, it was interesting. Google's blog post introducing this kind of had this whole section for like webmasters. Don't freak out. This is what's going on. So yeah, beautiful image search going on there, and I have it, and you have it, Leo. So it looks like it's going out to everyone. Google Forms gets updated. Google Forms is one of these like awesome Drive products. I feel like that just doesn't get the kind of attention that it should get. A Google Form is just a way to kind of create a questionnaire inputs, an easy way to ask to do a survey or to collect information into Google Sheets. And it got a couple of little updates. You can collaborate with others during while you're editing a spreadsheet. You can chat with people, and you can see real-time edits, so you can collaborate on a form with your coworkers at the same time. And a nice Google Plus functionality. If you share a form directly on Google Plus, anyone in your circles can respond without leaving Google Plus, or they can do it inside Gmail as well, which is really nice. Let's see, what else do we have? Google added a couple of kind of cool flags in the latest Chrome beta for Android. Have you guys seen this? On Android, the latest Chrome beta, if you type in Chrome://flags, you get a few different options here, and one of them is that you can enable WebGL, which is kind of JavaScript animation technology that lets you kind of see animation without an extra plugin.
And you couldn't do that on mobile before.
Could not do that on mobile before. So you have to get the latest, and it's the Chrome beta. Okay, so it's the latest Chrome beta for Android. You can go to Chrome://flags, and you can enable the WebGL, and then reload the browser, and then you can see WebGL.
How's the performance on your Galaxy Nexus?
It's great. I switched the Chrome beta as my default browser, and
But I mean,
have
of WebGL site pages, because it's basically animation, right?
Basically animation. Not bad. It's not bad at all.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I always assumed it wasn't enabled because the phones weren't fast enough to handle it.
Right. That could be. They could be kind of slowly introducing it to see how it goes while they optimize.
Right.
I think they might have also needed, and they might still need more time, so that the Chrome on mobile can sort of know what the capabilities of the CPU or the GPU are. Because if you can pass it through directly, like as direct calls, that's very fast. If you're emulating it, then that doesn't work quite as well. Does that make sense at all?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. 2 quick Google app iOS updates. YouTube Capture, which is that shoot direct to web application, now supports 1080p uploads, which is nice. And Google Currents got a new UI update. I believe this is 2.0. It's got a new sidebar that sorts editions by category. It's got new controls. You can swipe vertically to scan an edition or horizontally to skip to the next one. It's got a new catalog design, breaking stories from Google News, and the ability to save articles by labeling them with stars. A couple of the updates. I'm not a huge Currents user, but Leo, you're a Flipboard guy, right? Or do you use?
Yeah, I like Currents a lot, though. Currents number 2 only to Google Plus for great iOS design. But this makes it even better. It's still not quite Google Plus. I'd love to see that Google Plus interface percolate throughout all of Google's iOS apps. It's just great.
Well, speaking of Google Plus, and this literally just came in, thanks chat room for letting me know during the show earlier, the Google Plus app Android just got an update. It's kind of a small update, but you get a couple of nice community features. You can now promote, remove, or ban members from their community from the Android app, and restore or remove posts that were marked for review. And separately and by popular demand, you can attach clipboard links to posts. So it's kind of easier to share links, and there's more room to read your notifications as well. So I literally just updated this on my phone and haven't had a chance to play with it too much. But if you've already got the Google Plus app installed, you'll get the update notification from the Play Store very soon if you haven't gotten it already. That's it. That's all I got.
And that's the Google changelog. Do you like that feature, Matt?
Which one? The
changelog.
I do. I love the drums. I listen to Twig usually rather than watch it. So, when you hear the boom, 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 I do enjoy that.
Just doing a little focus group testing here.
And I do love the music at the very end. It's sort of the light, trilling.
Yeah.
You guys keep talking about replacing it with some techno or something.
Oh, you do.
Oh,
You like the
man.
music. You like our little fugue.
The little medieval. Yes, I love it. So
It's so stupid.
I'm a fan. I'll stand up and say I'm a fan.
All right, we're not changing it. I was going to have Jonathan Colton do a cover.
Oh.
All right, let's talk about it. Miss Gleek here. This is good. This is going to challenge your nerd loyalty. Because you've got two things that you love in the world.
Yes.
Well, more than two. You've got Etta.
Yes.
So that's three. But you do love Glee. And I I want that hat. And oh, sorry. Oh Lord. Chad just put a spicy sriracha bottle up.
Halloween costume.
I want that for a Halloween costume. That's good. It's a little sriracha costume.
Well, we know what a green hat means, don't we?
OMG. So let's give you the Jonathan Colton story. So Joko, who we all love, is very popular with the geek crowd because he writes very cerebral lyrics, but he's also very musical, really writes wonderful music, and a former programmer who decided he did not want to go the traditional music route. He talked to his wife. He said, I'm bored to tears programming. I like music. I'm a musician. Can I quit my job and pursue a musical career? She said, okay. He was smart because the first thing he did is he did something called a thing a week, where he would just come out with a song every week. It's kind of like your thing, Matt Cutser. If you do something continually for 30 days, it becomes a habit. So he knew that if he just forced himself, he had a deadline every week, he would get in the habit of creating music. And he did some covers as a result, because you run out of musical ideas. He's done some wonderful covers. One of them was Sir Mix-a-Lot's Baby Got Back, and it was great. Banjo, it's beautiful singing, it's really hysterical.
Really goofy and funny. And yeah.
So now give us the Glee side of this story.
Well, the Glee side of the story, and I just want to say I was a really big Glee fan, but recently the show has been atrocious.
I stopped watching last year.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
It's a lot of plot problems just because of music, but now I can't even. The music's not even worth the plot problem. So. Right. So my feelings about Glee have changed, but the Glee side of the story is that, the last episode of Glee, I think it aired sometime last week. There was the show choir at the school in New York where Kurt go and Rachel go now do this version of Baby Got Back. It's a really funny, like slowed down, led by sort of this like goofy white dude, and it's very funny and it sounds very familiar to Colton's version. In fact, when Jonathan Colton did it, he changed one line in the song, and Glee, and it included his name. It's like Johnny's Coming Home or something like that. And Glee actually had that exact line. So it was a direct, unapologetic cover of basically the Colton cover on Glee, but no attribution, no credit, no mention, nothing like that. Just straight kind of ripoff. And I guess Joko had seen, because Glee will publish previews of the songs that are going to air for that episode that week to kind of tease the episode, and he had seen it, and he was like, "That sounds like mine." And then he watched the episode and was like, "That's my cover." And I guess the Glee folks had contacted him, and basically said like, "Hey, this is well within our rights to do, and I hope you'll take it as a compliment, and consider it free PR. You're welcome." And Joko was kind of like, what? And so Joko has actually kind of taken the high road. He hasn't really made a big deal about this, but his legion of internet fans has flipped out. And so over the past couple of weeks, this has gone on for a couple of weeks, people have been asking me like, how come you haven't commented on the Glee thing? Glee versus Joko, which one are you? And it's like, I'm so clearly like Team Colton on this one. Now, his songs are Creative Commons licensed, are they not? Leo, I'm pretty sure that he Creative Commons licenses.
Oh, that's
stuff.
Interesting. So, but that would demand attribution, and yes, it is, because he said it's non-commercial, and this is obviously a commercial use of it.
this is commercial use, right? So then of course, Glee is a selling machine. Every single song that they do, they release on iTunes. It's usually extremely popular. They generate tons of revenue. But so Jonathan Coulton went ahead. I guess he had done this Baby Got Back cover a few years back. He went ahead and released a new version of it, and he called it the Glee version, kind of in the title. And his version has outsold the official Glee version, which has suffered from many angry 1-star reviews from JoCo fans in iTunes. So yeah, a little Glee.
I love it that he's outselling the official Glee version. That's great. And we played on Twitter a couple of weeks ago. We played the Glee version and the Jonathan Coulton version exactly at the same time. They're the same song. There is no. It doesn't sound like two songs. It's
Right.
matches perfectly.
Yes.
So they didn't even. It wasn't a recreation of it. They took it.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. I mean, because we have a fan who actually mixes the music on Glee. That's how we got some of this Glee music early on. And he said, no, they never asked permission of anything for any of this stuff.
Right, they pay fine. Like they basically don't ask. They do songs, and then once they get sued, stuff that they haven't bought license for, they pay for afterward.
Yeah. So are you going to do that? Is this both of them together?
Yeah. So this is both of them playing at the same time.
Exactly the same time.
And it's. I believe if you're listening in stereo, which
If you hear the two voices,
yeah,
don't matter.
but we actually mixed down our audio to mono. So for anyone listening to the recorded podcast. Yeah. Can you tell a difference?
An homage. It's not a recreation. It's the same song. And a great song too, I might add.
And the line you were talking about, Gina, is Johnny C's in trouble.
Johnny
where
C's-
it was normally Sir Mix-a-Lot's in trouble.
Right.
Or,
They didn't change it. But of course they didn't change it. You know why? It's the same song. They just took
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
They didn't-
Which would have been fine if had given him attribution.
Right.
This was a cover of another song to begin with. So this wasn't like Jonathan Coulton's song that they took. I mean, it was his arrangement. It was his.
It's fine.
Give him attribution. They need to give him a heads up. Give him attribution. They needed to talk to him about the creative
so.
If it was a non-commercial license, then there might be some sort. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but there might be some legal issues there. But they were just jerks about it, and I'm disappointed because from what I've seen, Glee is a pretty internet savvy, production, and the crew and writers seem to be. So you would think that they would have just handled it better. This was an issue of communication and just kind of giving him a heads up. I mean, this could have been a completely different story. This could have been him saying, hey, cool thing happened this week. My songs is on Glee. That could have been the story, but Glee just mishandled it. Totally.
I want them to do Mr. Fancy Pants next week. That's what I want them to do. And I could star in it. So
Let's do that story.
Google says you want our Gmail, you get a warrant. Yes, Google.
Yep.
Right on. Now, is that new behavior, Matt, or is that just reassertion of what they've always said?
I think that's actually existing behavior because,
Yeah,
I think so too.
way back in the day, the Department of Justice back in 2005, 2006 tried to get 2 months worth of user queries. And we were like, look, that's way too broad. So Google has a long history of fighting overly broad or, come back with a warrant, But I guess the hidden story here is there's something called the ECPA. I think that's the Electronic Communications Privacy Act. It was written in 1986, and it's incredibly outdated. It assumes that if you leave things, on a server for 6 months, oh, you're not using that email anymore. Well, we all leave our email on servers now. It's all in the cloud. And so the ECPA needs to be revamped to have better protection legally for your email, basically.
Now, what's interesting is that's the spin on this story. On the other hand, if you read the story, Google also announced that more than 2/3 of the user data that Google forwards to government agencies is handed over without a warrant at all.
Right. I think those are subpoenas. So I think for criminal cases, we require a warrant. I'm not a lawyer, so maybe some Google lawyer will come hit me over the head later. But I think if it's something criminal related, then we do require a warrant.
But some of the consumer data doled out without a warrant, according to Wired, includes names listed when creating Gmail accounts, the IP address from where the account was created, where and what time a user signs in and out of her Gmail account. Google hands over without warrants the IP address associated with a particular email sent from a Gmail account or used to change the account password. The non-content portion of the account, and this is all probably Google has no choice. I suspect this is all stuff that's covered under the Patriot Act. But the non-content portion of email headers, the from, the to, and the date fields, those are not considered content, so that's handed over. And by the way, this is kind of SOP. Certainly all the phone companies do that too.
Well, Gmail does different things. So, for example, Hotmail and Yahoo, as I understand it, when you email, if I email you, Leo, it passes along my IP address. Gmail doesn't do that by default. So, by default, it's more private.
Right.
But, you know, if you actually want to get the content of an email or do a criminal case, you know, there are definitely cases where we can make a good argument. Look, you need to come back with a warrant. But if it's something like what was the IP address, you know, that this email came from, and all the other email providers are providing the IP address with the email, then that might be a little bit of a harder thing to push back on.
In 6 months, United States agencies demanded 8,438 times that Google fork over data on some almost 15,000 accounts. This is in 6 months, ending December 2012. In those requests, probable cause search warrants were issued 1,896 times. Subpoenas, 5,784 times. The remaining 758, no one's talking. By the way, requests under the Patriot Act do not show up in the Transparency Report because the Patriot Act does not allow it. One of the features of the Patriot Act is you can't even tell people that somebody's asked for their information. You know, I don't blame Google. I blame our federal government, obviously. And this law has to change. And I know Google is among many companies leading the fight to change this so that you are protected, to update the ECPA, in other words.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it would be really nice if national security letters, I don't know, you know, this is just me speaking personally, but you know, if we were to get one that was, I know nothing about, you know, the actual request, but if we were to get one that was crazy, I think it would be great if we could challenge it and say, hey, you know, this is not the sort of thing that people shouldn't even realize the government is asking for. I have no idea. I assume the vast majority of these are actually responsible, but the problem is you don't know, you know, and sunlight is the best disinfectant. And so it feels like, hopefully in a few years, you know, that kind of mentality will peak a little bit, and then people will realize, well, maybe we do need to make sure that there's checks and balances in place here. But that's a larger effort. That's not something that Google could easily do by itself, you know, try to fight a court case or something like that. I have to, you know, kudos to Patrick Leahy, who's the Vermont senator, chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, because he tried to sneak this in on the Netflix bill. You know, Congress acted quickly when Netflix lobbyists said, hey, you know, you really ought to make it okay for Netflix users to share their, you know, video viewing habits on Facebook. Man, that law went through. Boom, boom, boom. So Leahy, over the objections of law enforcement, put a clause in the Netflix bill requiring government officials to get a search warrant for emails over 180 days old. Of course, it was stripped out before the bill was passed and signed by President Obama. So you can now share your Netflix, though. That's the good news on Facebook. The bad news is they can still get your emails if they're more than 3 months old or 6 months old. Mm-hmm. Leahy says he's going to reintroduce that legislation. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll let you know when he does, and we could start a letter writing campaign or something. Cool. The FBI says, don't make our jobs more difficult. Please, it's hard enough. We should have to go to a judge and all that stuff. It's just too much to ask. Yahoo also asks for warrants when appropriate. Let's see. Mark Zuckerberg is holding a fundraiser for Chris Christie. What?
That really surprised me. Yep.
What? What? I don't know what to say. You know, everybody has the right to do whatever they want.
Yeah, it's an odd couple.
It's a very odd couple.
It is.
Actually, it's more like 3 people, really, but that's another story.
Do Jersey people just stick together? Is that
Yo.
Zuckerberg became a fan of Christie as the governor geared up for his 2013 re-election bid, the tech mogul approached the campaign about helping him get another term. Mark and his wife Priscilla expressed their interest in supporting the governor for re-election.
You know, I do love that whenever people have given Christie a hard time, he's like, look, I'm less worried about the politics. I'm more worried about taking care of my people. Like, he comes across really well, whenever you're watching him engage with somebody. So
he's done brilliantly with the storm and everything else, I got to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's, yeah. And apparently it's his education policies that the Zuckerbergs particularly.
And don't forget, Zuckerberg gave him $100 million to Newark schools.
Right. This is a big thing for them. Yeah.
Jersey represent.
Jersey.
I'm just looking through the Facebook stories. There's so much stuff. I guess we could talk about the fact that Facebook withdrew access to Vine.
I wonder what's the story there. Yandex pulled
it's interesting. Yeah, Vine is a Twitter owned. That probably is of value to this story, at least in understanding the story. Vine is an application that, like many iOS apps, says, would you like me to find Vine users amongst your friends? And you can look on Twitter, you can look on your contacts, and you could, when you first got it, look on Facebook, but Facebook cut that off right away, saying, well, our policy is you have to reciprocate. But the thing is, you could post through Vine on Facebook, so I'm not sure what the reciprocation is that they're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. I've inherited Jarvis's rage about this. Like, this is our data, right? If you say find my friends, no, it's good. Your job is to infect others with your rage, Jeff.
Not your cold, just your rage, please.
I'm too sick to be angry.
Not your cold. This is why we're on Skype. No, but this stuff it bugs me so much because this is not Facebook's decision. These are my friends I made on Facebook, so I should be able to access it from wherever. It makes me crazy. So what was their reasoning? They wanted reciprocation?
Yeah, but it says they modified their platform policy to say Facebook platform enables developers to build personalized social experiences via the Graph API. That's getting your contact list. If you use any Facebook APIs to build personalized or social experiences, you must also enable people to easily share their experiences back with people on Facebook. But Vine does do that.
Vine does that.
I really don't get the reciprocity thing, because for a long time you'd take your contacts out of Gmail and put them in Facebook, but Facebook wouldn't let you export them back. And then Google put reciprocity in place, which is why we said, look, if we're going to let you export contacts directly to some other network, then they ought to, provide that back. But even when Facebook provided your friends' exports, it was like clear text names of your friends. It wasn't the actual links or the URLs or anything like that. So it's very weird to hear reciprocity being cited as the reason why Vine and Yandex get cut off.
For instance, they allowed Snapchat to do this until they had Poke, which was a direct copy of Snapchat, and then suddenly Snapchat, no, you can't. It's an anti-competitive move.
Yeah.
It really is. And Instagram and Twitter don't get along. I mean, it's an anti-competitive move.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not user. Does not put the user first.
Yep.
And this is a relatively new thing. Like in the past couple of years,
yes.
Right? Anil wrote that post about the web we lost. I mean, there was a time when everybody wanted to generate, file formats that were easily importable and exportable. I mean, people wanted to share data with their other services. It was a feature, right, that your data could go in and out, right? And now it's flipped, and it's becoming this who's cutting off who. It's so frustrating. It makes me I've really inherited the rage, Jeff. I hope that I'm making you proud. I don't spend a lot of time angry. I choose my battles carefully. This one is under my skin.
Yeah. There's a really good T-shirt from Maker Faire, the Make Magazine guys, and it basically says, if you can't open it, you don't own it.
Oh, I like it.
They're talking about getting inside of physical boxes, but the same thing applies to your data, really.
Yep.
Twitter's taken a page from Google's playbook. They have a Twitter transparency report, which is great, transparency.twitter.com. Yep. 1,858 requests from governments and right holders, 48 removal requests, 6,646 copyright notices since the beginning of the year. That's in the month of January, essentially.
How could you have a copyright notice? I guess a photo.
we can drill down.
Because a tweet is not exactly copyrightable.
Yeah. You must be, yeah. I don't know.
Big kudos to Twitter for doing this. I think it's fantastic that they're, the more people realize that these things are going on, the more educated they are about, okay, well, maybe we want to push back on this because, this is the sort of thing that makes you feel like, okay, Twitter was acting in my interest in this case to let me know, how often they have to take stuff down or how often they get, DMCA complaints or whatever.
Dalton Caldwell is trying to get more people to use app.net, the paid Twitter clone. Now he's added an API for storage, 10 gigabytes of cloud storage and file access.
So since we all signed up, who's actually used it since then?
Matt Cutts, you use everything.
Aren't you good?
Well, that actually is one of those networks where I forget to go. I'll admit that.
Yeah, and I would like to go there more because the conversations are great there. But it's just we have too many.
I dare
it's the
you
overload thing.
Overload.
Have 1 month of using the app instead of Twitter, Matt.
That's actually a pretty good one. Maybe I'll do that sometime.
That would be good. It'd be a test to see if it's just inconvenient or, if there's really something better about Twitter. By the way, don't use the phrase hashtag in France. It's a mot dièse. I love it. France, I don't think any other country does this. They have the Commission Générale de Terminologie et de Néologisme, the General Commission on Terminology and Neologisms. They have a committee. Of course, there was always the Académie Française, right, that would keep track of the French language and make sure foreignisms didn't migrate in. This committee has decided that the word hashtag is too American. It's an Anglicism. And they've said, please use mot dièse. I guess dièse is sharp, so it's the sharp word. And, of course, you see a lot of that on Twitter with French people saying, good Lord. It's technically incorrect, by the way.
Now I have to learn how to do the E with the fancy finger.
Yeah, the accent grave. It is a sharp sign, which was a left-leaning hashtag. The hashtag leans right. Okay? Bazinga!
Cena to break this tie and say, no, just call it hashtag. It's fine.
It's pronounced GIF.
No, God, it's a GIF.
Vim, no.
My name is Linus Torvalds, and I pronounce Linux. That's the web we lost. Right there. In a nutshell. Elon Musk says the Dreamliner is fundamentally unsafe. He should know, of course.
He knows. He does batteries.
He builds
really a convincing piece.
Those Teslas are with lithium ion. He says, unfortunately, the pack architecture supplied to Boeing is inherently unsafe. The way it's built is wrong. Well, that's not good.
That's alarming.
Well, they're not flying. They've pulled down the Dreamliner. Well, pulling it down is not the right word, but they took it out of service until they figure out why the batteries are catching fire. By the way, a professor of electrical engineering at MIT, Donald Sadoway, said, I would have used the same words. I'm glad someone with such a big reputation as Elon put it on the line. The Tesla is engineered to prevent that domino effect. Boeing apparently doesn't have that engineering.
It was very strange to me that Donald Sadoway is a professor of electrical engineering at MIT, and yet he's citing someone else. I'm like, it's okay. You can be an expert. You're a professor at MIT.
Yeah, I believe you, Donald. I do.
Well, and he's actually, I think Donald Sadoway, he's the guy that did a TED Talk about this huge molten battery. It's actually a really good TED Talk about, how you can save the energy and get it back very efficiently. But his idea is you have a battery that's the size of a cargo container and you heat it up with a molten salt kind of thing. So he should know what he's talking about for sure.
I'd like to see that experiment. Yeah, Yahoo made money. Marissa's done well.
Yeah, she has. I saw her speak at Davos, where she was popular, and she's still impressive, Marissa.
Her 3 goals for Yahoo: a better UI, bigger international reach, and broader demographics. What do you think Yahoo's demographics are these days? Is it older people?
I bet.
Yeah.
But she also said she would list for friends all of the top uses of a mobile phone, and then people would say, well, "What are you describing to me? Yahoo's features?" Ooh. So she clearly sees mobile as a big area for where they go. Mm-hmm. She also said when asked, I'm not going to get the list complete. There's one of 4 things you need: a mobile OS, a web OS, a browser, or a Sleepy Toby Grumpy. A 4th thing. And she said, no, we don't have those things, but that means we can partner with people.
I'm thrilled. I mean, actually, you rarely do you see this kind of instant result. That's fantastic. Well done.
Yeah. No, she's doing great.
Yeah. I love it that the New Yorker has hired Matt Buchanan from the
gets better.
esteemed literary journal BuzzFeed.
So, Leo, please go check out the hashtag BuzzFeed New Yorker.
Oh boy.
Oh, it's great.
Matt's a good guy.
Do you know Matt?
People are trying hard.
He looks like he's 12.
He's got that funny red hair, but he's actually he's smart, and he's a good writer. I'm happy for him. What's the hashtag? BuzzFeed New Yorker?
BuzzFeed New Yorker. And it's pretty funny.
So what is his new job at the New Yorker? Is he in charge? No.
Oh, this is a funny hashtag. He is going to be editing their tech section, I believe.
Oh, well, that's good. That's appropriate.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
I was on BuzzFeed recently because someone had complained about there was some,
Why does Google still reward content scraping? That?
Someone was asking about the issues involved in that, and the number one story was 25 things that cats are secretly obsessed with.
You know what? That's a perfectly legitimate article, and I look forward to seeing that as a cover story in the New Yorker soon.
Yes.
28 parents who love embarrassing their kids is the current headline on BuzzFeed.
I'm right in the middle of 35 great moments to ever seen on Ellen DeGeneres' show.
Oh, love that.
I'm still in the middle of it. I'm on 22 here.
Oh.
Yeah, there we are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this BuzzFeed article, I don't know if you want to even give it credence. How a copied and pasted excerpt of a story can still outrank an 8,000-word original, and why publishers aren't the ones to blame. You've seen this complaint before.
We've spent a fair amount of time talking about it this week inside of the ranking group, and I think it's important to realize that originally I think Huffington Post put up basically an exact duplicate of the article, and so you had the article on 2 different places, and you have to guess which one is the real copy, so to speak. And so you make those kinds of ranking decisions, and then later, if Huffington Post gets, Joshua Topolsky says, "Hey, please take this article down," then we might still have decided which one's which. Anyway, the nice thing is that often when we look at these kinds of cases, like several different things have to go wrong for us to sort of see, oh, this is a quirk, and okay, what do we need to do to fix it? But we're continuing to talk about, okay, we always want, whoever wrote the content, we want that article to be returned rather than someone who scraped it. But fundamentally, that's a hard problem, because if someone scrapes it, then immediately post it somewhere else, then it can be hard to say where it popped up first. But,
now it's just an excerpt, which is a much more common, John Gruber does it every day on Daring Fireball. It may get better search results based on the HuffPo having more links. I mean, is that, do you do anything to say this is the original, we should point to that?
It's difficult to do, but yes, we do try to figure that out. I wouldn't claim that we do that perfectly. There's actually a Russian site that analyzes different search engines, and you can see over the last year we've gotten much better at that. But it's a really hard problem. So we do try to figure out ways that we can do better at it.
A human can do it, but you're doing it algorithmically.
Right. And there's just too much on the web where a human could try to do all of it.
Right.
But there are people in Zurich, and now there are going to be some extra people in Mountain View kind of trying to tackle this.
Now, are you encouraging people to use rel canonical?
Rel canonical is awesome. Yeah, it's basically a way where you can put a meta tag on a web page, and you can say, there might be different versions of this article, but here is the one true version of this article. You can also do what's known as a 301 or permanent redirect, and those are all just hints that we try to use. There's lots of different ways that you can try to tell us that you've got original content, including, sending us pings, all that sort of stuff, and we try to incorporate a lot of that information.
Ironically, HuffPo put rel canonical in its link.
Yes.
So you can't. I mean, if somebody's going to lie and say, "No, this is the original. This is the canonical version of the article," that's an outright lie.
Well, and yes, in this case it was, and I think they were only trying to make it correct within Huffington Post. They weren't thinking about other copies. But even then, you could say, "Oh, this is contested," because different people both say that they have the canonical version. The tricky thing is those pages can change over time. People can add comments. Content rotates in and out, and so finding out exactly what the duplicates are, it can be a really hard problem.
Well, at the end of this BuzzFeed article, it says, Google's head of a web spam and longtime search quality point man, Matt Cutts, has not responded to a request for comment. Well, now he has.
Well, John was very nice to email me, and I was trying to reduce my.
This was the week you were offline.
So he went ahead and wrote that, but I pointed him to the official press alias to ask for future sort of stuff. So.
Yeah, and you got to. I mean, I don't know. I've always thought the Huffington Post was a little bit over the line in the aggregation of other people's content, and I can understand Joshua's upset over the entire article appearing on the Huffington Post. So rel canonical would certainly be something The Verge would use on original content on the Verge post, and in theory, no one else should use that on their content, on their link to it. And if everything works well, it wouldn't happen.
Right, and the fact that most people don't see this happening where you search for, a snippet of text from your blog post and you get something from a Russian or a Hungarian or whatever scraper, that means it normally works well. It's just it attracts a lot of attention when we get it wrong. And we do appreciate the feedback. We've actually been talking to folks at BuzzFeed and taking suggestions and huddling on the engineering side to say, okay, how do we make sure that the right people do get credit as much as we can tell?
Right. I can see how it's a tough problem. We're going to take a break, come back with Gina's tip of the week, Jeff's number of the week, and Matt, if you'd like to do a tool or a tip or a number, you can do that too. But first, a word from Carbonite.com. We talk about the cloud, but the cloud is a great place for backup as well. I talk to people all the time who say, I talked to a guy, he was sailing to Catalina Island in Los Angeles. And his laptop was on the deck, and they hit a wave, and it went whoop, overboard. It's gone. Bye-bye. Sinking away. And he called to say, but I wanted you to know I was using Carbonite thanks to you and your ads. And I lost the laptop, but I didn't lose the data. And sometimes it's the data that's the stuff that's irreplaceable. The great pictures of your baby being born, or your wedding, or your financial records, those emails you've been saving. Carbonite keeps it safe in the cloud. It also gives you access in the cloud. You can always get to your Carbonite data. You just log on to your Carbonite account on any computer or use their free apps. And it's just like cloud storage of any kind, but it's very affordable. $59 a year for everything on your Mac or your PC. $59 a year is less than $5 a month. It's not like for the first 5 gigabytes. It's unlimited. After 200 gigabytes, they slow down the uploads. 200 gigabytes would probably be too much for most people to back up to the cloud anyway, just based on your upstream bandwidth. So don't think of this as an infinite storage thing. But for most people, those precious records, that precious data, the stuff you've got no other copy of, that's important to make sure you got a copy on the cloud. Automatic, continuous, secure Carbonite cloud storage. I want you to try it free right now. No credit card needed. 2 weeks free. Just go to Carbonite.com. and use TWIG as the offer code. If you do that and you decide to buy, you'll get 14 months for the price of 12. And by the way, there are numerous plans. There are small business plans, unlimited computers and servers. You can get external drives, et cetera, all at a low, flat monthly rate. But the basic plan, $59 per year for a Mac or a PC, is the one most people want. It's really great. And boy, when the time comes that that disaster happens, and they always do, you'll be really glad you've got Carbonite. Carbonite.com. Use the offer code TWIG. Gina Trapani, your tip of the week.
Tip of the week, you can now get notified on your phone if there's been any suspicious activity on your Google account or failed login attempts. This is kind of nice. If you're worried about your account getting hacked, you should have on 2-auth, which we've talked about before, 2-step auth, excuse me. But now, if you have a failed login attempt, if you go into your Google account settings, you can get notifications for a password change and for a suspicious login attempt, excuse me. So you get a notification via email, and now you can get a notification for your phone. So you check off phone, and then you have to re-enter your password, and you re-verify your phone, and so you'll get a little notification if that happens. This appears to be only available for vanilla Gmail accounts, not Google Apps accounts yet, but I enabled it for that, and hopefully it'll show up for apps users as well.
Cool.
And that's an account, your google.com/settings security.
Mr. Jeff Jarvis, your number of the week.
So I found this interesting. Google and Facebook led the private tech M&A with 12 companies each last year out of a total of 2,200 deals. But this is what interested me. According to the Next Web, 76% of the companies bought out of the 2,200 did not raise any capital. What happens to the VC business?
How many? What percentage?
76% raised no capital. They bootstrapped.
We're bootstrapped.
Yep, you are.
We're not exactly a tech startup, but it's interesting the number of companies. I look at Gabe Rivera at TechMeme who said, I don't want to take any capital. I want to own it. I want to control it.
He wants to take an afternoon nap.
Yeah. Doesn't want somebody snooping around. 76%. And that's not because of a lack of the capital. I mean, there is money out there, right?
No, there is.
It's not people are saying, I couldn't get capital. They didn't want it.
Who wants to deal with VCs if you don't have to? A, B, there's things that... Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say it's so much cheaper to do a startup or, try to do a company. You can throw something up on the web or do an app in your spare time. And, you
don't need the money.
It's very low. Yeah.
So there were two presumably successful companies because they got bought.
Right. But there were two reasons that people would get venture capital. Partly the money. And if you're a web company and you need to scale, a lot of times it just means you need a lot of money right up front. Dig.com, you got to have servers, you got to have bandwidth, and you're just not going to have that revenue yet. But the other reason they always tout, people like Paul Graham always say, well, but we're mentors. We help you make connections. We bring in the right people and all of that. And I guess some people have decided, I didn't really need that. And now that I don't need the money, see ya.
Well, it's also being disaggregated. You can go to General Assembly in New York and get the training that Y Combinator gave you without having to give up any equity.
Right. So kids, the moral is keep that equity.
Yeah.
You can do it. Mm-hmm. Use EC3 or Google App Engine and do it yourself. It's cheap. And that's what happens is they do a demo. Like, look at Vine. Vine was not made at Twitter. It was bought by Twitter. But when nobody ever saw it until Twitter bought it. It was like they probably, they probably did a proof of concept on EC3 or Google App Engine, and people looked at it and said, yeah, that's good. We'll buy it. We'll take it. Next. I love that. See? Something positive, Jeff.
Yes.
Forget
It was
drones.
an interesting number this week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Matt, do you have anything you want to share with us? Anything you're excited about?
Sure, absolutely. So while I was off the internet, I used my free time to work down my to-do list. And so a natural question is, okay, well, what's the best to-do list app for an Android device? And there's one called Tasks. And so if you try it out, it can use multiple accounts. You can slide back and forth, so you can work on different sort of things. If you've learned that Raspberry Pi has gotten some funding, and so you want to make that more important, you can just click and drag it up. It syncs with Google Tasks. The only downside is it costs 99 cents, so it does cost you $1. But there's also a free version that will be completely unrestricted for 10 days. And then after 10 days, it will start showing ads. So that's plenty of time to decide whether you like it or not. I've used a lot of different to-do kind of apps, and this one's really nice because it uses Google Tasks for the back end, but it's just got a very polished, very jelly bean, fresh sort of UI, and it works very well.
It's okay, Gina. We'll never invite him back again. take care of it. Don't worry.
No, this is good to know because I often have people say like, "Hey, I want to sync to Google Tasks. Like, what's the best app to
That's
do
the
it?"
key
And
for
I
me,
just didn't
too.
know.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Gina, I had used to do, in the past for a little while. It's just I really want to try to use all the Google Task kind of stuff, and so that was kind of a weird thing for me. I'm
of course. This has like due date reminders, and I mean, this has got kind of like the extra to do features, which it looks really cool. And syncing the tasks is a really nice. A text file only kind of goes so far. You know what I mean? With to do so.
But it can work really well for simplicity. So it all depends on where you're looking. To go.
To-do.text is also for those who want to work in text files, available on Android and App Store, and it's written by somebody named Gina Trapani.
I like this Tasks app that was made by Team Tasks. I'm waiting for Google to release their official to-do app.
Why isn't there a Google Tasks app?
The official Google Tasks to-do app. I keep waiting for that to drop.
That would be nice. Yeah.
This looks almost like Google did it. It has that Google blue and.
It does look very googly.
It's googly. You gave me googly. Well, I want to thank you, Matt Cutts, for
it was great to have you back, Matt.
Yeah, it was good to have you on.
Popping your internet cherry or whatever you call it with us here. It's nice to have you back. And anytime, anything you want to plug that you want people to know about that you're up to there besides fighting the spam on the web page there?
Oh, if you search on Google for Webmaster Video Channel.
Oh, I love those, yeah.
We do these Webmaster videos, and we haven't pushed any out for a month because I haven't been around for a month, but we're going to start resuming to push those pretty soon.
If you don't already go look at that, you Google webmastercentral.blogspot.com or it's on YouTube, Google Webmaster Help. Matt is a superstar on those, and they're really great to watch. Who's this guy? That doesn't look like you.
That is Jack Menzel.
He'd look good in a sriracha costume, I just want to point out.
I'll pass that on.
Would you?
And then he'll be offended. He's like, why? Who's cheating on
in my country.
Oh, wow.
It's the Statue of Liberty sriracha bottle. Thank you very much, Matt Cutts. Thank you, Jeff Jarvis. Hope you feel better from the Davos flu.
I will.
I can see you're fading fast. We're going to put you to bed right now. Tuck you in. Aww. Jeff is the author of Public Parts. Buy 10 copies of his book.
I wake up for a plug.
And lots of, more and more I see your speeches. If you follow him on Google+, he posts a lot of interesting stuff, including talks at Google and other places, speeches. I mean, really great content from Jeff. And you're not putting it all on BuzzMachine. A lot of it's on Google+. So that's good. Yeah. Jeff Jarvis on Google+. He's also professor of journalism at the City University of New York. Gina Trapani is a blogger at smarterware.org, founding editor of Lifehacker, and the author of Think Up, which is a fabulous Twitter analytics app at thinkup.com. Thank you, Gina.
Thanks for having me.
Great
Favorite
to have
part
you.
of the week.
See you on All About Android. She does All About Android every Tuesday about 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Stop by for that if you're an Android fan. It really is a great show with Jason and Ron. And
I've been having a blast. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
Really good. Well worth taking some time. Make an appointment to view that or download it from twit.tv/AAA. Thanks for joining us. We do this show Wednesday afternoons, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 2100 UTC on twit.tv. If you can't watch live, and we do love it when you watch live, but you can always get on-demand audio and video after the fact on the Twit page or wherever finer podcasts are aggregated and regurgitated. We'll see you next time on This Week in Google. Bye-bye.